Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Unheard Perspective. We are your hosts, Basil Saeed
and Sasha Riba, and today we will discuss one of the important topics, the power of now, Gen Z in the spotlight. So Basil, I've been thinking a lot about the power of conversation, especially among young people like Gen Z. We possess an opportunity and potential that holds the promise of making a meaningful impact. The conversations we have on social media platforms, in schools, and within our communities are shaping history. We're challenging the status quo, demanding accountability, and pushing for policies that reflect our values.
That actually reminds me of how the founding fathers were young when they laid the groundwork for the nation. We can't forget that our voices matter just as much. As young people, we've been seeing college and even high school students joining school board meetings, college hall debates, and even going as far as to congressmen, women, and senators and asking them questions regarding their policies and voting records.
It's amazing how a group of young people can change the course of history. We need to promote that spirit on college campuses and beyond. Look at the groups like Turning Point USA and Young Americans Foundation. Turning Point USA and Young Americans Foundation missions both involve educating and organizing students on college campuses, empowering them to effectively advocate for conservative values. They hold various events, including conferences, seminars, and campus lectures featuring influential conservative figures, and they provide students with opportunities for intellectual discussions and networking. Through their mission, various events, tabling activities, and leadership development initiatives, these organizations are important in shaping the political landscape amongst the youth.
I would say another good idea for students is to volunteer for political campaigns, whether it's presidential, statewide, or local. For example, statewide, we saw how the youth helped Governor Glenn Youngkin in Virginia when they won the election. And volunteering for political campaigns, it gives insights into the ideologies of campaigns, and it also helps students understand the political process. They're also helpful if a young man or a woman is looking to run for office in the future. So student governments are also great when it comes to learning about the process. It involves actual hands-on work to improve a school. It's also where actual debate is conducted on how to, for example, get more money, add more scholarships, or improve campus buildings or dorms. I remember how crucial it was during the time of the vaccine mandates and COVID and how students were protesting, giving their voices to the administrations. It shows how our generation needs to talk more, engage in more meaningful conversations, and take on active roles on college campuses. It's not just about getting a degree anymore. In today's world, it's about shaping the narrative of our future, especially in student government, student senates, in areas like that. Student could shape the foundation of school governance, which is really huge, and then move on if they would like participate in politics and culture at an early age and shape them. Sasha, you were a student trustee in Grossman College. How was your experience as a student trustee?
Where do I start? That was one of the most challenging yet impacting jobs I had. I was one powerful voice on campus who has been heard and noticed. I ran for student trustee position with one message: students need to be seen, they need to be heard, and they need to be supported. I was very scared to speak up and stand up for the conservative values. At my first board meeting, I asked students of the college to send emails regarding the removal of COVID vaccine mandate, and we successfully removed it for students. At my second board meeting, the board pushed a gun control support letter to Governor Gavin Newsom, which I voted no. That was the day I spoke up. I told the board to remove vaccine mandate for all employees and bring them back for jobs. The board was shocked because no one ever spoke up. After that, I received over 20 emails from many of the college district employees around California, thanking me for speaking up for them. It was shocking to me because they were left unheard. I have been fighting my district for over a year about multiple programs like food options, student counseling, and sanitary bathroom on campus. Just imagine, it's common sense to have food options, sanitary bathrooms, but not in my college. So I wanted to bring changes. I can say that once I left campus, I made a change with just my voice. So whoever is listening to this right now, it's time for you to stand up and act. You will gain your army with time once you start fighting your fight. There are a lot of like-minded people everywhere, and you can find your crowd. So keep up a good fight and never give up. So let me ask you, were you involved in your student government?
I will say I was as a student senator for two years. I participated in a lot of meetings with students, staff, and professors. There was no formal training. It was all on-the-job training. I had to read the constitution of the student government, understand the rules, and move on from there. At first, I was assigned to different committees during my 2 years. First year, I was in the planning, development, and budgeting committee. I was part of the committee that plans school programs and looks on for the budget, and there were professors and staff on it. And I remember how they were happy that there is one student at least on the committee that was actually representing students. It was there just to show that our opinions matter, and it was for them to adjust accordingly. The second year, I was on the graduate studies committee where we were designing and implementing graduate programs. I actually attended a lot of meetings and we discussed and voted on issues. I remember a few times where things would get out of hand and the administrators would mute some professors on the call, which was funny because we as students, we were clear and concise while staff members were the ones that needed to pull back and speak with actual facts. As a student senator, I was engaged with a lot of students throughout social media, surveys, and college meetings, especially during the vaccine mandate times. We had students who voiced their opinions on how the students that were unvaccinated would come to the school once a week to test. That was mandatory, actually, and they wanted to get rid of that. I advocated for it. I believed in it. It made a lot of students stressful, and it affected their mental health, especially those who had to commute 2 hours plus daily. And that was me, for example. It took us senators a while, but we managed to get some issues fixed, like dorm issues, room issues, and leaks, bathroom leaks. You can imagine that. And it took us a while, but I never stopped advocating for it. At one point, I was set to be the student rep on a board where we interviewed applicants for the dean position, and I was interviewing applicants who were much older than I was. And it was actually my first ever experience. It was satisfying to me and to other students that were there. And the fact that we had a board on that was great and very satisfying. And you know what? This actually reminds me of something. Just remember how young our founding fathers were in their nation. Their sheer energy, their passion, it was relentless. And they set the stage for a democracy that is still evolving at the moment. Look back at how George Washington was 44 years old, Thomas Jefferson was 33, James Madison was 25, Alexander Hamilton was 21, and even James Monroe was 18 years old. Just imagine that.
It's almost our responsibility. Actually, it is our responsibility as citizens to carry that torch forward. The founding fathers weren't afraid to speak up, and neither should we. Well, that concludes another episode of the Unheard Perspective. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Let's keep up the good conversation, inspire others to join in, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.